You are now listening to the Soul and Wonder Podcast, Episode 13, Making Dreams a Reality.
Welcome to the Soul and Wonder Podcast, where the conduits of the body, depths of the mind, and atlas of the soul are explored with devotion. Through cultural exchange, Christopher and Sara and their guests will deliver sacred wisdom from around the globe, uncovering the hidden gems of conscious living and holistic healing, all to empower you on your journey of self-discovery. And now, here are your hosts, Christopher and Sara.
I am fired up.
Yeah, why?
Because we are with Darnell.
And Darnell fires you up.
Hell yeah.
We got Darnell Brown here. Glad to have you on the show, mister.
Glad to be here. Thank you for this interview. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, sure. Of course. So why don't you start off by telling our listeners a little bit about who you are, because they don't know much.
Yeah. So I am, as they said, my name is Darnell Brown. I am an entrepreneur and a brand coach and a designer. And I know that that's several job titles and whatnot in one, but that is at this point a very simplified version for what I do. I would like to fancy myself to be more of a mindful entrepreneur, I'd say, if there are a little bit more negative stigmas regarding that term and whatnot. But yeah, my background is mostly in branding and helping people and entities and whatnot share their stories. That's what I really love. I love doing.
And he's damn good at it, too.
Yeah, really good.
I'm all right.
He's coached us a little bit on our own business, getting our message crafted and delivered, pulling out that genuity inside of us to deliver it to our followers, our clients, our audience. And we're extremely appreciative of that, because what we wanted other people to do for us, like I thought we were going to have to pull from so many different sources. We found all of that in one person, Darnell.
Too nice. Not too much.
So where are you from? You're from Chicago, right?
Originally from Chicago. 1984, year of birth, Chicago. So, and have been in the Charlotte area ever since 1993. So since I was 9 years old.
Wow. Long time, man.
Yeah, moved with my parents and stuff here. They wanted to start a better life and figured out that there were more opportunities here and stuff. So yeah, I left around that time. Many memories, but very random those memories. None having necessarily like connections to the other or significance in any way. But yeah, many memories. Feels like several lifetimes ago now. That point in time feels so far away. So
doesn't it? Every time we evolve into like a new chapter of our lives, I feel the same way.
It feels like a past life.
Yeah, really. It feels like it's so many more years further than what you would think it is or something. Like you're just like wow. And I don't know why. Maybe because I'm into like lucid dreaming and stuff like that, and when or just the nature of dreams in general. And so a lot of my dreams as well have gotten like mixed in with memories. So it's like really hard to remember what really happened and what is just this memory. And it's just like those dreams and being fascinated with dreams makes that part of my life feel like it's like 50, 80 years ago.
Well, who's to say this is really reality right now?
We could be dreaming.
Yeah, this could be a big dream.
Because in Inception, they said that those guys went to sleep to wake up.
Yeah.
Yep.
For them going to sleep was waking up. I was like, nice.
I've literally had dreams I've had like 7 layers of dreams before all in one night, where I was in a dream and I woke up in a dream and I woke up in another dream and I woke up in another. I have tripped myself out so hard that when I actually woke up that morning, I'll never forget, I didn't believe that it was reality because I had woken up so many layers that one night that I was just like, this isn't real. I'm waiting to wake up again. It was nuts.
And was that before or after that movie? The Inception movie came out?
I've had weird dreams like that since I was a kid.
Okay,
like
gotcha.
really trippy.
We've had to check ourselves so many times, like pinch each other. Like, is this really?
Is this real?
Is this real?
Like astral projection type stuff, like leaving your body, seeing everything as it is.
Yeah. I could talk about dreams are hands down one of the most fascinating topics / phenomena to me ever.
Speaking of
Extremely
dreams,
fascinating topic.
speaking of dreams, like you seem to be making your dreams become a reality as far as goals are concerned. You know, this whole branding and entrepreneurship, everything you've gotten yourself into, you obviously are really passionate about it because you're good at it. And usually if someone's not passionate about something, they're usually not very good at it. So what kind of got you into on that path of making that decision to go after what you wanted?
Yeah, I would say that I guess that's that's a very broad question. But if I was to simplify it, I would say that I think that it was like a mixture of the whole nature versus nurture thing, like that constant thing of how we look at people and figure out what shaped them into being that way. And so I think with me, it was quote unquote the perfect storm of I guess being told these things like the things that we tell our children, and we probably were told and stuff in some variation, such as like you can be anything, you can do whatever you set your mind to, etc. So like having that mentality, I guess, of or taking that maybe a bit literally too much or somewhat, but being able to say, okay, boom, you know, if people tell me this, or the people in my lives at these times, so like teachers, parents, etc., if they're like, you know, you can do anything you put your mind to, I said, well, I was like, I guess I kind of took that to heart. But at the same time, I always wondered, I was always curious as to why, like everybody wasn't the same way that I was, for instance. So if you take that to heart, if you listen to that, you were either stuck in a position of, okay, I'm going to do that, and that's because that's what I'm being told, or if the environments and whatnot around you are different than what I guess you're told that you can be, it creates a little bit of this disconnect. And so you get to this point where it's like, okay, well, maybe the people that were telling me these things weren't like living that type of life in the first place. So I wonder, were they just telling me what I wanted to hear, or what did they mean what they said when they said I could be anything? And do people mean that when they say that to everyone? If that's what we're supposed to believe, so I'm just like, why shouldn't we fly and stuff? Why shouldn't we go as far as we could do with anything? So I think that that's at a young age. I don't really remember any specific time, but I just often think about voices, I guess, or people having said that, and then realizing that people do say that, and that people that do have children do tell them stuff like that. And so I said, I'm going to take that to heart and feel like I can do whatever I can, and just try to fine tune my talents, try to continue to educate myself, etc. Fortunately for me, I've been told that I had raw talent just in terms of drawing and painting and stuff. So that's something that people have said is like God-given and whatnot. And so I look at that and I say, okay, so if I had this raw talent at age 5 and I could always draw, and I was always just attracted to drawing, that was like started the whole entrepreneurial journey from that point, was being able to create something, I guess, that didn't exist, that just came from your imagination. Being able to imagine something and draw it, and then see all your friends and your people, and you're just like, how can people not? A person that can draw is always fascinated at how a person cannot like take their hand
and make it do
with
the
a
same
pencil.
thing.
Yeah, to make your mind like why does your hand shake and stuff like that? It's just like baffling to me. Or if a person traces something. So to a person that has been drawing all his life, it's just baffling to me. So I try to understand it by like drawing with the opposite hand or somewhat, or trying to become, what's that term, like ambidextrous or something, like if you can do it with both hands.
Yeah.
So So when I do it with the other hand, then it's like, it's hard to do instead. It's like, you can't keep the finger still. And I'm just like, okay, maybe that's how people feel when they can't draw, they draw or something. But anyway, just to go back to that, coming from that point of being able to I guess, now that I say it in real time, it came from that ability of taking something from out the mind and crystallizing it for everybody to see, and drawing became that metaphor for like being able to design your life almost.
Creating your reality.
Creating your life. It's just like taking that simple concept of, and I'm just like, everybody has art in them. Like as Picasso said, all children are artists, but the problem is how to remain one as an adult. And I'm just like, children are freaking creating all the time. And then we grow up and we become conservative and stuff. And I'm just like, man, you know, everybody probably can. There's beauty and stuff in anything anyone can do, and I think that we are all craftsmen to some extent, or at least we were. At least we got that in us. We got a fire and stuff in us, and some type of craftsmanship, whether that's making stuff with our hands, whether that's talking to people, whatever it is that we do. Maybe it's best to get in tune with that side of us, I guess, if we are trying to go further in life or something, almost to go inward, to go outward. So.
Right.
Most definitely. And I think a lot of times is that as children, you know, we harness that creativity up until a certain point. And then after that certain point, it's more about living in the world that we're living in, being adaptable and being in society and working these corporate jobs and doing these things that necessarily that people may not want to do. But you lose that creativity, you lose that imagination, you lose all of that, and it just goes by the wayside. And it's unfortunate because I think that's what's going to build a better, more positive world, is harnessing that creativity, harnessing that imagination.
Completely agree.
That self-doubt starts to trickle in from societal expectations, you know, as you start to age. And, you know, kids, they speak bluntly, they're very forward. You know, a kid is telling the truth if they tell you their opinion. Yeah. And eventually they start to get older and older, and they start to question their own minds, their own thoughts, their own opinions. They start to say, well, Susie told me that it's supposed to be done this way, and Bobby told me that it's supposed to be done that way. And then you start to doubt yourself, like, oh no, have I been wrong this whole time? And then that just, I think it starts to, you don't feel as powerful. And the older you get, it's like society is really good at stealing that away from you, just ripping it out of your hands. But
now that you mention that, I think that the answer of turning dreams to reality is that I'm still a kid. I think I'm basically still a kid.
There you go.
I didn't go to that.
You didn't grow
up. And there's just so many different dichotomies and whatnot in life, like the ability to imagine something, which is to say something that doesn't exist, which we're supposed to be the only species on Earth that can say something that does not exist. Like we have the ability to say that and to put something out there that doesn't quite exist. So we can call the sky green and make someone believe that, for instance. But then, just like you said, kids are always telling the truth until I guess they learn how to lie. Basically, when they say I didn't do it, and it was that person that did it. But up until that point, they're always telling the truth. And I'm curious it's just that interesting dichotomy of being able to use imagination, I guess, to tell fascinating stories or to push the human race, I guess, forward. Or you could use imagination to tell a lie. Right. When you think about it. And so it's like, man, you tapping into who you are at your core and in your soul, that's probably the most honest place that you can get to. But like the juxtaposition of using that to imagine something in your mind and create that which doesn't exist. That's mind-blowing to me. That's like, you got to get to the truth in yourself to imagine something that doesn't exist, and then you put it out there on paper, and it's just like, okay, yep. You know, that paper or that canvas was blank and stuff at first. I withdrew something from my mind, and I put it on a canvas, and everything in my life has always been a different level of that to some extent. Designing elements of your life, certain things happen to you, certain things can kind of, I guess, dictate or have a major influence on where you may end up. But I like to believe that my destiny is in my own hands, even if there's a grand orchestrator. I like to believe that.
That you have like million different paths to get to the same thing,
exactly.
And that you can choose which way.
Exactly. When I often think of I guess source or creation or God or something like that, I do try to look at it like destiny or something is like, just like you said, it's like you're at the bottom. If you saw it on a flat surface, it would look like you at the bottom looking up at a tree branch, and there's a ton of different places, and maybe that end place is like death, regardless of where you end up on that spectrum, and every single point. So it's just like this massive tree or like veins or something like that, like just multiple paths and stuff. And you as the person in the path, you as the character in the story, don't know quite where you're going somewhat, but we still kind of all end up at that same place. When I look at things in that light, I'm like, okay, I can see a grand orchestration working in that type of light in a very two-dimensional, like easy to understand way. So anyway.
Yeah, when you take that analogy of the tree, it's interesting because, when you do have these branches, some of the branches that you go, let's call them a path that you go down, oftentimes you're backtracking and turning back around because maybe that didn't work out. And that's okay because...
But it leads you to another branch.
It leads you to another branch, and you learned a lot of lessons going down that path, right? So, you go down all these different paths, you learn these different lessons while you're creating your life. So therefore, we come to the question, is anything possible? And I think so. I really think so. I think anybody can do what they want.
I remember reading this really interesting article about, our parents and stuff, they're in like the baby boomer type generation. And I remember reading that it's just a theory that the reason why we are the way we are now with, follow your dreams, we're actually going for our dreams is because our parents, they had to really root down and make ends meet through wars and depressions. And they were in the beginning of the Industrial Revolution where everything was growing. You had immigrants from everywhere contributing to this melting pot, and they had to really... Their focus was providing stability for their family. Survival. And then, so they had our parents who they were taught, okay, you need to invest, you need to get married, you need to have children, because that's what their parents saw as being the easiest path for them because they set it up that way through the businesses they created, and they wanted that future for their children. So then our baby boomers... did exactly that, got married young, had babies young, just worked jobs to provide financial stability and missed out a lot on chasing their dreams because that wasn't the focus of their parents for them. So then we are born, or, in the generations around ours, and our parents are kind of living vicariously through us of saying, okay, go follow your dreams. You literally can do anything you want to. You can put your mind to anything. And you see a lot of people in the generations around ours really making some like serious social changes in the world, some like evolutionary, not saying that it didn't exist before, but just seeing this huge leap of progression now. But I don't know. It's just
when you can feel the shift that's happening, the shift in consciousness, the shift in the way you live your life. For us, we made that shift a few years back, and I really have not looked back, and I never will.
An individual shift, sure.
Yep. And now together making that same shift, and it feels
continuing to go that
fantastic.
And I can certainly imagine. Certainly, you certainly can see it amongst you two. And that's interesting looking at the generations and whatnot.
So that makes you wonder, our children, what's their focus? Because here we are all chasing our dreams, doing what we want because our heart says to do it. Is that what we're going to teach them as well? Or are they going to see it as a risk of failure, risk of unsuccess? What is it? Because chasing your dreams may not always work out the way you planned. Doesn't mean it failed necessarily, but I don't know. That's just something to think about.
Well, I think that as humans, that fear of failure will always be there because the ego exists within the mind. And once you start to begin to peel the layers of the ego back, that fear begins to dissolve. And so no matter what, I think people are going to be apprehensive about chasing their dreams or doing something that maybe seem risky at the time. But when you look back on it, it's like, whoa, like, I should have done this sooner.
Yeah. And we're always looking for examples, I think, throughout generation and throughout modern history, especially, of I guess, people that in their lifetime accomplished great feats and whatnot. And so those anomalies are sprinkled throughout the generations and stuff, clearly. People that were ahead of their time, etc. And so I think that our future generations will look towards things that are going on now in this generation and people that have gained, I guess, legendary status, I suppose, or are completely masters at whatever that they do or something in life. Like we'll probably write about those people and documentaries, etc., doing all of those things on them, and the generation after us or coming up under us will be able to I guess get at least some strong source of inspiration from those people sprinkled throughout. And these people are written in the history books and whatnot for a reason, as well as they will continue to exist just in terms of probably like for the history of just humans and whatnot anyway. So we can always look to them. I think that often those people in history were definitely ahead of their time. They went against the grain probably a lot too. I noticed a lot that they had probably greater struggles than we'll ever go through. Number one, just because life is a lot more convenient and whatnot anyway. So they already had a lot more pressure to go up against, and somehow they broke through. And so they simultaneously both grew up in harsh environments, but like achieved probably far more than we ever would. All one and the same. So that's just being able to, I don't know, to just be a surveyor of that somewhat, or at least have some modern examples of people that are alive and stuff as well, or brands or people that are really just trying to, I guess, push forward and just trying to serve. I would say is kind of where it comes from. But yeah, I've always, I don't know. I think in achieving and making a dream a reality, yeah, you have to be a little insane in the membrane somewhat, because you have to be able to go ahead and push against that grain, just like the people in history, is to like make that which doesn't already exist and stuff, and prove everyone wrong, etc. And somehow believe in that idea that much, and you keep working towards it, and you keep crafting it, you keep honing it, and et cetera, and you keep going. You pretty much have to be, you have to be like wired differently somewhat. You can't just, and maybe that is, I often struggle with even knowing if that's just something within us, right? So I when I'm writing and stuff like that and doing creating blog posts or something like that, or even thinking about things I would talk about eventually or write about, I'm just like, man, it's just fascinating to, man, yeah, it's just baffling. I forgot my train of thought for a second.
Well, let me ask you this. So you see that clarity with following where your path, which ends up with dreams becoming a reality, and obviously through the rest of our lives, we can continue to create that, ease with dreams becoming a reality. So at this point in your life, you're how old? 32. So, math, so what kind of challenges have you faced at this point, to make what you have now a reality?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say that the challenges are, the challenges is, I think, it's the same challenges that people that are trying to, I guess, do really extreme things in their short lifetime do and come up against, which is just like constant normal day-to-day stuff, I guess, and kind of dealing with your environment, your immediate environment around you. And so you have to work hard at changing that, or I guess getting that time to be mindful and having that time to create. I think it's that the distractions and whatnot, I guess, stopping you from being able to create, to be able to produce, to be able to concoct and whatnot. And you're going to have them unless you're secluded or something, or locked in a, I don't know, like you can lock yourself in a cell or the queue or something and just be in the creative zone like all your life. And maybe that's how some of us would like it. But you're often dealing with, just distractions, and I don't mean necessarily distractions in a bad way and stuff like that either. Not necessarily. I mean that in the sense of you're going to have just outside forces.
Life in general.
Yeah, just life in general. Just outside forces, and you're not in this bubble. But I think that as creatives, we can be in this bubble and whatnot too long and be fine in that bubble until we're ready to unleash whatever we're working on to the world. So we want to stay in these bubbles, and there are bubbles that are not bound by the constraints of time. That's why you get lost in them in the first place, right? It's like they exist out of space and out of time, and you get lost into what you're doing, and until we're finished with it, until we're happy with it, we're not ready to release it. However, that bubble is bouncing up against all of these other ones, and you have responsibilities. You have other people that come into them. Some of us fall in love or have love and stuff happen to us, which obviously isn't planned for. We're never quite ready for anything, and that's the thing. So we, as creatives, want to. I think we want to be in that place, and we wish that we could just be free from all of the demands and stuff of life for a minute, for a hot minute, and then like once that's releases, it's like, okay, cool, I can resume back to my worldly activities, but you're so happy and stuff in that bubble, but only for a time, because eventually we want to share it, because it's worthless to just kind of hoard that in, or to be your own admirer of the art. It's just like weird to do that. So yeah, that's what I face. I face like just, I guess that, just the forces of life, and being at that point where I have this tendency to like live life a little bit like I'm lucid dreaming. So whatever is happening is like happening before my eyes, and I don't necessarily, you plan this path, but at the same time it is happening before your eyes, and you're completely self-aware that it is happening. But living life that way does have some drawbacks and whatnot. Like we can get a little bit, I feel like I can be a little bit naive about some things. I would say definitely naive. Naturally, you probably get a little bit more self-centered just because you're trying to get something out of the self to share it with the world, and so you got to be kind of in that bubble or something.
Wrapped in it. You
got to be wrapped in it, and so it has these. There are those drawbacks and whatnot with it. I think that the challenge is that I have to be a little bit more it's like I have to see things or something. Yeah, that's perfectly. I have to see things for what they are versus how I would like them to be, or how I envision them being.
An objective perspective.
Yeah, a completely objective perspective, and to kind of deal with the present circumstances. And so whether that is trying to run a business or finances or debts, etc. These are present things that are going on, but I often am already thinking like way further than that point, or looking at an alternate reality a lot of the times. So there's this lucid dreamer side of my personality, which is a huge part of it, which kind of takes a lot. And some of us have different words for that, like we call that the ego or something like that almost, or the super ego. It's that side of probably serving that too much. And so I need to step back and not only be more mindful of the present in terms of just good stuff, like doing one thing at a time, like stop multitasking, being like stop, turn off notifications, etc. I'm already mindful and whatnot in that way, but I mean in terms of just like things that have caught up with me in terms of how I dealt with money and stuff like that in the past, those things that kind of caught up, and it's like I need to address that, and I need to live and be in that moment almost and kind of deal with that stuff so that I can go further, because they are falling back. And then it's the right thing to do to address those and stuff anyway. You can't be lucid dreaming forever.
No.
You quote unquote have to always wake up, right?
True.
Gotta wake up.
True.
Gotta wake up.
So now this goes into another question here. So speaking about your daily practices, what are some of your best quote unquote practices that you utilize to
keep you in the zone,
and also keep you on track and get you to the point where you are now? Like, what are some of the things that you do?
Yeah, so absolutely. Several things. I think that. So I kind of just go kind of in chronological order somewhat, but then try to also just mention a couple things. One of them is always prepping the following day, like at the end of your current day, for sure. So for me, that means like my workout clothes for the morning, as well as the clothes I'm going to wear for the day. I already set aside. I keep a water bottle and whatnot near the bed too, so that's usually like filled out. And like having my devices and whatnot charged and everything. So all of that stuff at night, doing that prep work for the next day is immense, because in the morning you just like, it's like, man, stumbling around, and you want to sit in bed and all of that, and then you're just like, oh man, all these things I got to do, and I'm kind of forgetful and clumsy anyway, and so I'm a lot more mindful, I would say, like right before bed, so I might as well go ahead and get that done. And so that,
and it kind of eases your mind, probably, right?
Yeah.
So you can go to bed,
you already know that you're straight and stuff in the
Yeah.
morning. That you know that even if you spend an extra 5 minutes, you're good to go. So it's about doing that prep work ahead of time, but that also takes a level of discipline, because that means that you got to start closing your day up early. And so it's just like if you are 32 years old, it's probably pretty hard in this generation to like say I'm going to go to bed at 8 o'clock or something every night, like I would, or 8:30. So you already got to be making a commitment to doing things, shutting down shop like 30 minutes early, right off the bat. That's number one. Number two, prepping up for the next day. Number three, man, yoga and meditation. Yoga and meditation, exercise, the trifecta of those, hands down. Meditation especially for just all of the benefits, the mindfulness, getting more in tune, like with listening to your heart and your soul, like being in the present moment, accepting things that you can't change. Like the benefits of that to me are like, that's my version of therapy. I don't necessarily, I guess, quote unquote, believe in, like psychiatry and whatnot. Just in the sense of it's hard to, I guess, listen to people that probably have the same problems as you, and then they're like, they're just like listening to you most of the time anyway. Or at least that's a stereotype. So I admit my perception about psychiatrists, I have a stereotype to them. So my version of going to see a psychiatrist is meditation, for sure. It's like that's my therapy. I feel like every day for the rest of my life, I'm going to need to meditate for 10 minutes a day. And I do it first thing in the morning. Some people do it in the middle of the day, but I get that out the way first thing. So I'm going to do yoga and exercise on alternating days, probably about 25, 30 minutes a piece. I got to get that energy flowing in me. And then with the yoga side, like just being able to, it's like, I didn't even know I had a muscle there. Or like, what is that? I can reach this? Like, how can I reach this? And I'm just like, I didn't even know some of these muscles even work. Like, you just find out, it's just like real personal. And you find out so much more about your body. And then like you can stretch it, like literally. And you can bend it in all these different ways. Again, more about the design side and being able to like mold yourself a certain way and just be extremely flexible and I think just that physicality of that, especially when you're often at a desk and stuff the whole time, you don't move around much, like just being able to be really physical in that way. Yeah. So that yoga and exercise, for sure. The meditation side, like that, you have to do it. It's just like, without question, or at least I do. And other things that I do is I do things like I block out times in terms of check email, for instance. So these were things that I started doing years ago, where I'd be like, okay, boom, if I don't want to be like chained to my email or something, I got to block it out, right? So I got to say I'm going to check it 3 times a day and deliberately only during those times. So I do email blocking. I usually have my phone in DND, do not disturb mode, for probably a huge part of the day. I don't have many conversations on the phone. Most of us don't anyway, probably. Not these days anyway. It's like mostly texting and stuff. So, just kind of refraining from the notification side, because that definitely takes me out of the creative vortex, and I need to stay in that. But I also need to get out of that and stuff at certain times. So I build routines, and I look at things by on a monthly basis. So in January, I say, okay, what are my intentions for January? What are my intentions for February, March? And craft a 4-week schedule based around what those intentions are, and then craft a daily schedule that are based on specific themes, right? So Monday might be my content creation day. That's the day that I'm going to set up all my posts and stuff for the week, or write a blog post, etc., and just get my content creation stuff straightened up. Wednesday or Tuesday might be like the design day, where I just get to grab Illustrator and do some vector art or something like that, create a poster, or like an image or something online that has text and typography, plus like the Nelly Bloom side, like with the shirts and everything. And then I don't know, Friday is going to be neat, but that's going to be what I'm going to call Generosity Day. Generosity Day is where I do something that is completely taking myself out of it, with no expectations whatsoever involved. And if I can't donate my money, will probably be my time or my creative energy.
Nice.
No expectations, and I'm not doing it for the wrong reasons. I'm not doing it for reciprocity or anything.
Right.
This is just me doing more of what I wish I could see or something in the world. And I realize that it's not always about being in a position to donate money. You can also donate other things like your time and energy. And so for some of us, that could be volunteering. And so right now I'm juggling between doing some of that on a personal note side, which would be like more volunteering, like nothing to do with branding and stuff, and then to do it on the branding note. And so when I was thinking about you, Chris, when you asked me about the site, I came up with that idea afterwards, after something that I was reading, and I was just like, man, I'm gonna totally do that for them or something. Like I'm gonna like assess their website and just do it and stuff like that. And I'm gonna do this like every Friday for the rest of my life.
That's awesome.
So I'm gonna commit to that. So that's what I meant by these themes, is knowing what you want to focus on, because you're gonna get thrown off track and stuff so much anyway. But you also have to have a reserve or a bank account for spontaneity.
Yeah,
that's true.
For spontaneity flowing, because it's going to happen and things are going to throw you off course. But if you got this reserve to say, okay, I got an hour or 2 to kind of shoot the shit a little bit, or I know I'm going to go down a rabbit hole online, because you're going to go down a rabbit hole if you search for a video or something. So if Chris was like, if one of y'all was just like, man, you need to see this video on, I don't know.
Usually about cats.
That's her choice.
Or you'd be like, man, Darnell, you want to see how insignificant we are in the scale in the universe, and you send me a video or something on that. Already that concept is going to take me down a rabbit hole just as a concept. But the videos and stuff, like I'll end up in a completely different place. So it's like having that reserve, like a savings account, and being able to say, okay, boom. Shit is going to happen. There's going to be an emergency or something like that. Something is going to throw me off course. But I've already planned that into my day. And if it doesn't happen, then I've got that bank reserve set up. If nothing happens on this day, then I can add that extra hour to Tuesday and so forth. You can go on and roll over, in other words.
That makes perfect sense. You know, we've got our whiteboards on the wall with our yearly goals, our personal goals,
our check boxes.
I love checking off things that I've done. Me too. It is so satisfying. I used to play video games a lot, way too much back in the day, but I liked the games that gave me a list of things to complete, because as soon as I completed it, I could see, usually with a nice sound too, ding, and it's gone, and then I get another thing on the list. I'm like, all right, where's it at? And
so you're like me. If you got it on the whiteboard, you'd rather strike it through than erase it.
Oh yeah.
You gotta see it. You gotta see it. I know it.
But I like what you're saying about themes. That's something, because we're still, since we're in the development phase of our business, getting it exactly where we want it to be, there's still a lot of unknowns here and there. So right now, I was thinking in my head as he's speaking, how could we apply themes for developing our business for each day? Which is something I'm sure as soon as we get in the car, we're going to brainstorm and probably have a plan by the time we get home, because it's the way our brains work together. But that's really inspirational and directional. I'm a spontaneous person. Okay. He's the planner. Okay. I'm the one that...
Total yin and yang in that regard, in other words.
In mostly every regard. But for that, I mean, it's huge because it really works out.
But don't we adore our opposites anyway? We adore them. It's like amazing.
But because I'm such a... I am a multitasker. Okay. I can do it well. That's why I love to cook, because I've got a lot of things going on at once and it thrills me. Okay. So I do that in my life, but that doesn't always work for me in my favor. And it's not until I met him that I realized how organization can actually help me to really kind of open up in a way that I never had before. So sure, I like to-do lists. I like checking off things I've done, but that helps keep me organized, and it's weird because if I didn't have him, I would be floating off in the clouds, but he kind of pulls me down.
And I like to float sometimes, so she lets me float, I know
for sure that you all could definitely find 5 themes in a business week. Mm-hmm. Automation, content creation, design, right off the top, marketing, and I don't know, paying it forward day or whatever, if that's what you're into. But I'm just like, there's really no other way. And that was just, that was brilliant that I kind of got inspired to treat the day in that way, because otherwise, as entrepreneurs, as you all know, stuff as well, like you get into that rut where you're being a little bit more reactive than proactive. Like you spend too much time in the business versus working on your business. Yeah. So you, and you're kind of just like, okay, or email came in, or you might respond to it, you might spend too long answering it, etc. But if you don't theme out those days, I feel like you're gonna end up accomplishing your goals a lot slower than you could if there was just that organizational side. And it's fun too, because you look forward to those days. You're like, this is my content creation day. Yeah. This is my automation day. This is the launch day. This is the day where everything I worked on all week long, now I can go ahead and get out. Yeah. Like, that's so awesome. It's just like crazy, man. Love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
we've got like our, we'll plan out our week. Like we have our goals for the month for the business, and then we have our goals for the week for the business. Then we have the today to-do list. So it helps us kind of see like
the we're
bigger
killing
picture.
it right now. We're
getting a lot of stuff done.
2 ebooks in like what? A couple weeks?
Yeah, I think so.
Y'all are crushing it, man.
We're just, but when we go at it, we're going at it, and then, it's kind of, we take our time and we remove ourselves for an hour and kind of do our thing, maybe cook a little meal and hang out together, and then it's back at it, and it feels good. I feel really good right now.
But there are a lot of people that would be scared to take this, what they would think is a risk, because, society tells us you got to have your shit figured out when you're in college, so that when you're done with college, you can hit it hard and be successful. But realistically, who even uses their degree anymore? Like I didn't until we went to South America,
It worked out
Spanish.
well.
It worked out perfectly. But at that time, what was I going to do after college when my passion wasn't teaching Spanish? It's like, it's sort of, where was I going with that? Your life changes so much, and people, they get scared to follow a dream of opening a business because they see so much opportunity for failure. And it's all around us. We're swimming in opportunities for failure, but at the same time, if you're not scared of failure because you failed so much before that you've learned you can just get right back up and go do something else, that's when things really open up too, I believe.
And not only that, but not to sound cliche here, but when we're talking about, working at something that you're passionate about, it doesn't feel like work.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't feel like work.
It doesn't feel like work.
Every time I get out of bed, I get jacked up. I'm like, yes, like I'm working today. But I'm not really working. I'm just like doing something I love.
and that's the big thing, is that you and that's the question that when we are worried about taking risks, and those of us that are afraid to start businesses, I think it comes down to what I have thought about a lot, especially over the past year, which is a question about fulfillment. Like when you ask someone how fulfilled are they in life and stuff, I think that you can't be and won't feel like your most fulfilled self unless you scratch that itch, and you probably already have it anyway. Especially if there's some dissatisfaction with what's going on or something in your life. So I just look at it in math terms. I'm like, if you do nothing, if you don't take that risk, there's a 100% chance that you'll continually to get what you've always gotten out of life. But at least if you take the risk, and at least there's a 50% chance that you could fly and a 50% chance that you could fall. But those odds are already less than 100% of nothing changing.
And if you fall, you learn what not to do next time.
Yeah.
So it's not even a waste of time.
No. Failure is feedback, right? And even no feedback is a form of feedback. It means no one cared enough to even give you an answer. And so I always say, like, with the risk taking side, naturally I don't know what it's like not to be that person. I don't know what it's like to be that person that is constantly questioning and, like, scared to do it. Sure. But I could, as with most things in life, I always look at analogies, and I always look for analogies and metaphors. And so my closest thing with that would be, like, before I learned how to swim or something. I guess feeling like I was in traumatic situations in terms of almost drowning by not quite understanding how to move in water, not being able to grasp with my mindset. How could people, like, swim, and how do they do that, etc. So my risk was, like, I guess, to, quote unquote, getting in the water or getting in 9 feet water and being able to swim. But then I got to that point where I started realizing, okay, kids are doing this and they're completely carefree. And I'm already thinking just a lot about my childhood and certain things that I always just had the ability to do. I'm just like, man, these kids, and my wife Kim and stuff too, just being, like, thrown into the water at a young age and doing it so early that they don't even know how to swim. Obviously, I didn't go through that, so I had to learn kind of as an adult, which is much different than as a kid. So these kids, I'm like, you go to the YMCA and you see these kids jumping, and I'm just like, man, they're jumping in
doing laps.
Doing laps and stuff like that, completely carefree. They're doing cannonballs, front flips. They don't have on floaters, anything, and I'm just like, I can't be sitting here wiggling my feet in, like, 3 feet water. Like, this is crazy lame. So looking at the I guess that carefree spiritness of that, and just being able to, like, okay, these kids understand water, but obviously they did it at a young age, but I'm not too old to learn how to do this. I got to come out of my shell and take that risk and learn how to swim, which was my version of starting a business and whatnot. So anyway, yeah, man, it's just that aspect of just knowing that, man, to get what to get what you've never had, you got to do what you've never done. And I think that a lot of us aren't. We may be content in our lives, but I don't know that we are all fulfilled. I don't know that we are all constantly experiencing everlasting happiness while alive. And so the closest that I can get to that, and then have that ability to basically shift the circumstances, or my present circumstances, or my past, or my environment, the things that I do have the ability to shift, I have to do that. I have to do that so that you can live a life that is more and more fulfilled with each thing that you do. And if you think about it, we as humans are already taking risks and stuff all the time anyway. When you get up and drive down the street to go put gas in your car, you're taking a risk. You could get taken out just by driving to go get gas from something you had nothing to do. Like, you had nothing to do with, and you could just be completely wiped out. So you take a risk in everything that you do, and when we realize that we're always taking them anyway, the moment that you leave your house and something is a risk. These are risks on smaller scales, but they're risks nonetheless. And it's really not as hard as you may think it is. And it's more convenient. There's no better time than now. It's never been this easy to even start a business or anything. And there's so many people in your corner. It's just like so many of us are in this together and stuff. There's so much support and stuff out there. There's so much love and respect. And people just genuinely wanting to help one another, man. And
it's great.
So those who are taking a risk, they're not even by themselves. You're never alone. No. That's another great side of it. You got people, and if they're not part of your immediate environment, then it's time for you to change your circle, and it's time for you to get in new places. Mm-hmm. So hop on meetup.com or something and go find a group that is interested in topics that you're interested in. Yeah. Because they're going on in a city or something near you in the first place. So it's just like, or Facebook groups or something, right? Mm-hmm. So we can't choose our families. And we can't choose the environments that we were raised in or grew up in, but we can choose pretty much everything else. Yeah. So with that, why don't we shift our environments, take some fresh air, travel through other people's stories if you can't afford to travel yourself, and that's how you grow and get your mind and rewire yourself to not feeling like you're going to be a prisoner of your circumstances. You're always going to that your life is destined for what others have planned for you rather than you having a hand in it at all. So
I like
that's
that.
Awesome. That's really good.
If you're scared to start it, or if you have, I don't know, you're scared to get your feet wet or something, or into business, then I probably would recommend to start by shifting your surroundings, because that probably has a huge part to play on who we are and who we think of ourselves as. Mm-hmm. And they say, like, you are whoever your 5 closest friends or something are. And it's not always necessarily about the family and friendship, I think, but that we have to get out of our environments in some way. We have to do things differently. And every risk starts with the small things. Maybe it's not starting a business, so take it back one level. Like, why don't you just try to meet new people or something? Yeah. Why don't you do some traveling and some soul searching or something that way to do different type of risks, because you're going to do them anyway, and then that'll prep you for starting that business.
Yeah, you can't just wait for things to happen for you. Like, you have to take the actions, the necessary steps to manifest your desires and your goals. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, they feel stuck and they become a victim of circumstance, where they say everything else has happened to them and not, well, maybe some of my choices led me here. And they might feel attacked at first if you say, well, your choices lead you there. Oh, victim blaming. It's like, victim blaming. I have kids when I didn't want them, that sort of thing. But it's like, no, that should actually be empowering, because it's telling you, you made the choices to get to where you are today. So that means you can make the choices to get out of where you are if you're unhappy. It doesn't mean running away from your situation. It means aligning it with your values more so than you were previously doing, that made you feel stuck or unfulfilled. I don't know.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so.
Do you, before we wrap up here, is there anything else you want to add? And you want to give a little shout out about what you're doing and a little bit more detail, your business, and how people can find you, and
if they want to use your wonderful services.
Yeah.
Which I highly recommend.
Yeah, thanks. I guess, just wrapping up, I guess the last thing about, on the topic of making your dreams a reality, I just want to drive home that point of just, to the people that are listening, I want them to ask, or I'm gonna pretend I'm talking to one person. So I want you to ask yourself, and ask yourself honestly, like, are you fulfilled in life? And if you think that there's room for more fulfillment or room for more happiness, then you have the ability to influence that into coming into fruition. I want to say that. So I think it starts with asking ourselves that question. People don't need to be trying to create other people's dreams or creating their own dreams because people tell them to or something. A lot of people are fine with what they're doing, or maybe content. To be content is all that they want and stuff out of life, and we're not going to knock those people and stuff. I guess it's just more so for everyone else. If the answer is no, then you owe it to yourself to make your dream a reality, because the world could benefit from what you have to offer. In terms of with me, I'll just try to keep this quick and stuff. I told Chris and stuff, last time. Yeah, when we had dinner and stuff at the house, I guess that was a couple weeks ago, maybe a week and a half or something ago, I told him that that I had decided to write a book, and that by the time we probably met up again, I would have it complete. So in January, one of my intentions that I set during the final days of 2016 was to write a book and stuff. And so that is what I have done. I did 10 chapters and I did it in 10 days.
Nice.
As intended, and it's only 10 chapters and it's tight. And I'm just wrapping up pretty much the preface and then the acknowledgments and stuff afterwards. But the meat of it is done and stuff is something I feel good about and I'm really excited about, and I really can't wait to share it. And I'm stuck in that. I'm still lucid dreaming about like this alternate reality version of it, where it's like it just came out and it was just like it. And I don't know, like a lot of people read it and it made sense or something to them, and it just connected. Like that was the big thing, that it connected with a lot of hearts and minds. So I'm living in that alternate reality of like seeing that as a possible future, but knowing that it may not happen in that way, or it may happen at a different time. And so it's fascinating to kind of step outside of yourself and out of time and be able to just envision little moments and stuff like that. And so that's a fascinating thing. So the book was the big thing. I entitled it at this time, and I think I'm going to lead with it. It's called The Bulletproof Hustler. And it is, if it becomes a success, I will write the other two books, which would be a prequel to that one and a sequel, because it's the middle one. So that's totally a Star Wars influence in terms of like the most interesting chapter, I guess, or the one that would hook you is the middle one, or one that's out of the chronological order of things. But I realized that there's definitely two sides to how the person became the hustler and what happens after that, the hustler. Second thing I wanted to say about so that's the book title.
When do you expect that to drop and release, and what are you looking at right now?
I'm going to look at I'm definitely going to release it. I'm going to self-publish it digitally, and that's going to come out, I'm going to say, before the month of February is over. I think that I'm not going to try to get too wrapped up in marketing it or pre-selling it just because I don't know. I feel like there's just a part of me that just wants to put it out and maybe it'll happen like wildfire style, like it's like in the forest type thing, where it's just this little itty bitty match or something in the forest, and maybe it'll catch fire or something. So there's that side of me that wants to think that it'll work that way, but I also don't want to. I'm not the type of person that wanted to write it this year and like wait a year with a publisher to release it. Yeah. I feel like I had to get this out of me, and I did, and I'm so excited for people to read it, and the hustler, like that term, like what that term means and the connotations that are around that, like I'm flipping all of that on its head. And I discussed that about it, because I looked at the definition. I was like, it sounds like it's a swindler and a person that is doing illegal things. And I'm just like, oh no. I'm like, so I knew that word had I guess these misconceptions,
negative connotations,
or these different interpretations, which are totally warranted. But at the same time, I always thought of a hustler as something completely different, and so I always wrote it with that particular mindset. And so that's the big thing for January. Going forward, I am going to continue to do brand coaching. I do like it a lot, and so that is, I guess, a form of consulting and strategizing, etc. I do quite enjoy that a lot, and I want to spread what I know and my knowledge and expertise in that way of helping brands more in that way versus on the design side of stuff too much, because I realize that the design is such a small part to play. Maybe not necessarily a small part, but it is a part that's supposed to come after everything else.
Sure.
So I think that's another big thing and whatnot for this year. And in terms of, you said that you wanted me to tell them
where can they find you?
Yeah.
So they can check me out at www.darnellbrown.net.
And we'll put in the show notes too.
Yeah, darnellbrown.net. I have Twitter. I'm at Mr. Darnell Brown. Darnell with 2 L's, and as well as Facebook and Instagram, at Mr. Darnell on all of those. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of them are at Mr. Darnell Brown, and at darnellbrown.net. And you can check out the things that I have going on and different ways that I'll be trying to continually help people share their stories and unleash their superpowers, as well as continuing to share. So
helping others to make their dreams a reality while making your dreams a reality every day.
Works out, man.
That's the way it goes.
That works out, man.
Yeah, that's what we do it.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for giving your time to this episode, and we really appreciate it.
I think that's a wrap.
All right, thanks.
Alrighty, now the health tip of the episode. Today we're going to be talking about barley grass juice powder. Barley grass juice powder is incredible. We use it every day in our morning smoothies. There are brands that we do recommend. One in particular is Pure Synergy. You can find it on Amazon. It is, I think, $20, and it lasts you for about 60 days. So it's a really good bargain, really good deal, and it's high quality. So what barley grass juice powder does is it extracts and pulls out heavy metals from the spleen, the pancreas, the reproductive system, and the intestinal tract. So we talk a lot about detox and cleansing, and it's very, very important. And for those of you, first off, that don't know a lot about detox and cleansing, we do offer a free guidebook on our website if you sign up for our newsletter. So if you go down to our homepage, scroll to the bottom, sign up for our newsletter, you'll get a free copy of that. And it will give you all the details of how to avoid toxins and how to remove them from your life. So barley grass juice powder, when you pair that, when it by itself, it's great. However, if you do pair it with spirulina, it's very powerful. Spirulina and barley grass juice powder helps to, again, extract all those heavy metals out of the body. And we recommend putting it into a smoothie every morning. It's, again, sometimes it's hard to remember to do these things. However, if you do this for a month, a couple months, you will notice significant difference in the way your body reacts and how you feel. So please check that out. Go on Amazon. You can find that. And again, if you have any questions in regards to any of these supplements, any of these health tips, please feel free to reach out to us at any time.
Yep. So don't forget, join us on our tribe at our website, of course, soulandwonder.com, and get your free detox and cleansing along with the occasional update to your email, whether it's a new podcast episode coming out or a newsletter or any bit of information we want to fill you in on.
And look out for the ebooks coming up.
Yes, all the ebooks.
Juicing on a Budget is officially out and released on our website. It's for sale. And we have our 21-day detox coming out at the end of February, early March. So please look out for that. And we also have a few more coming up. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.